What's up, guys? It's TechnoViking23 coming to you today with more of a kind of a real-life ramble type video. I actually wanted to talk about something that recently happened for me that's pretty cool and has me feeling pretty happy and satisfied right now. It's more of a financial issue that I had been dealing with for quite some time, but I actually finally managed to pay off my student loan. And I am really excited about that. It's great to have that little bit of debt gone out of my life. And I'm also going to talk about student loans a little bit and hopefully give you guys just some general thoughts and advice on it. Now, obviously, I'm not a financial advisor or anything, so take what I say with a grain of salt. But I just wanted to kind of give my thoughts and a little bit of insight on it. Now, I was very fortunate because the place that I went to college was not super expensive. Of course, this was back in the very early 2000s. At that time, the in-state tuition for my college was only about $3,000 a semester, so it wasn't a huge expense like college is now. College tuition is just absolutely blown up, and it's kind of insane now what you wind up having to pay for a college education. But I was very fortunate that it wasn't expensive, and I also was very fortunate in the fact that I was able to have a few jobs throughout college where it really helped me pay for things. I was an RA at the dorms for a while, which helped pay for my room and board. And then the last year or two of college, I actually was working at an apartment complex that was a student housing complex, and they actually gave you free rent if you worked there 20 hours a week. That was basically how you got paid. You got a free apartment, which had all the utilities and everything included, so I did that for quite a while. And those were just some of the ways that I helped to minimize my college expenses. Now, I also went home in the summertime and worked very hard. I had a landscaping job that I worked probably 70, 80 hours a week at, and just saved all of that money over the summer and then used most of that to pay for my tuition and other things when I got back to school. Now, I had to take out a student loan for my last year because I had some financial issues and other things, and I ended up taking out about $10,000, which doesn't seem like a lot, especially when you see a lot of the stuff the kids are taking out these days. And I just wanted to give my personal story on that. Is when I got out of college, when I graduated and everything, of course they sent me all the payment information and the payment plan. And it was kind of interesting at the time because I was young and I was just going out getting my first job, like first real job, and not really paying much attention to things. And I never really even considered the fact that they had offered me a 30-year payment plan on this money, and essentially they wanted me to pay like $80 a month or something like that. At the time, my only other expense I really had was my car payment, which was about $200 every month. I had bought a car in my last year of college, and so I didn't think much of it. And a couple of years later, I looked at it, and I had been paying down on the student loan for what felt like a long time, and I looked at the overall balance, and I was like, damn, I haven't really made any kind of dent in this at all. And at that point, I started doing the math. I kind of educated myself a little bit, and I realized that the interest rate they were charging me and the length of time they wanted me to pay back this note, if I went by their payment option that they had offered me, I would have wound up paying them probably $30,000 to $35,000 over the term of the repayment. And considering that I only borrowed $10,000, that is just absolutely crazy. And when you think about it that way and you look at those terms, it almost feels like it's a racket. Like they're doing it, they want to get your money from you and they're trying to lure you into it. But when it comes down to it, it's on the consumer. It was on me. I hadn't paid attention to it at first, but of course what I did, and I saw what I was having to repay, I instantly just went into dump everything I had into it mode, and basically put all my extra money I was bringing in that I didn't need for other bills and things. I just kept putting it to this student loan, and I had a couple years where I couldn't really make much of a dent in it because I had other issues going on. Especially when I was self-employed, there were times when I wasn't actually working. I was trying to find a job. A couple years were really rough for me, where I only worked about half the year. So I was not able to knock it down as quickly as I wanted to, but finally this year I was able to just, I made, I think, one really big payment last month that was over $2,000 and just finally knocked off the rest of it. And looking back on it, like I said, I originally took out about $10,000, and I think overall I paid back about $16,000. So that was about $6,000 that I completely lost, wasted on this because I didn't pay attention at the beginning to the terms of the repayment plan. So I wanted to use that as a cautionary tale to any of you guys, because I know I have some younger people that watch my videos, and if I can kind of help them out a little bit, that's really the point of my channel in general, is helping people, whether it's with gaming or with other things when I talk about real life stuff. If you're going to go to college, number one, the best thing I could say is make sure you're going to college to get a job or a degree that's going to help you when you get into the overall marketplace. I know that, you know, everybody's free to do what they want and pick what you want to do. But if you go to college and spend 5 or 6 years getting a liberal arts degree, or, you know, studying something that's not really a popular thing, or something that's not going to help you get a job, you're pretty much wasting your money. And again, that's just my opinion. I'm not trying to say anything bad about people that get liberal arts degrees or any other, or music degrees or anything. I'm just saying in general, it's not a great idea for getting a good job when you get out of college. Going to grad school is kind of a similar thing. You have to kind of weigh the cost that you're going to incur and how long it's going to take you to pay off that cost versus what you're going to get when you get out of school. Like, for example, I have a friend of mine who went to school for 8 years and he became an engineer, but as soon as he got out of college, he was making $150,000 a year, and he easily paid off his student loans that he had taken to get to that point, and he still has that job today all these years later, and he's making bank right now, so he's in good shape. I also have friends who got less than desirable degrees for the marketplace who are now you know, in student loan debt up to their eyeballs and wondering why they can't pay it off, and they can't find a job making more than $30,000 a year because they don't have the skills or the degree set necessary to get anything that would help them pay back their loans. So, and again, like I said, take this with a grain of salt. I'm just kind of giving my personal opinion on this. Now, there are some cases also where you don't even really have to go to college to get a good job. I had a really great job for about 5 years working in the apartment industry, managing apartment complexes. And I was the only person in my entire company, including some of the higher-ups, like the regional managers, that had a college degree. So these were people making in upwards of 6 figures who didn't even have a college degree. When I worked retail recently, while I was working a second job when I just moved back to Georgia, there were some store managers that worked for my company who, again, making 6 figures and only had a high school diploma. So it's not, you don't necessarily have to go to college. In some cases, for some people, the trade school is going to be a little bit better. In some cases, if you are working out through high school and you have if you're in retail and you can work your way up to be a manager before you would even go to college, you might not want to go. You might not need to go. College is not for everybody. Student loans definitely add to this, especially, like I said, when I realized how much money I was going to have to pay back if I didn't start throwing just everything I had at it. If you take out a big student loan, you're most likely going to be paying it back for a long, long time. So like I said, that's definitely something you have to look at before you go to college. This needs to be on you. It needs to be on your parents. If you go to school and you take out a big student loan and then you can't pay it back, it's not the bank's fault. And you have to take accountability for that. I know a lot of people like to just say, oh, the bank's screwing me, the interest rate's bad, and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, you're responsible for that choice. It wasn't my fault that the bank was trying to gouge me for $30,000 on a $10,000 loan. It was my fault for not reading the paperwork, and it was my fault for not paying attention to it in the initial years of repayment when I could have knocked the interest down quite a bit, and paid off more of the principal. So it's on you to study it and know what you're getting into. And I would just advise, if you are thinking about going to college, if you're a senior in high school, explore all of your options. There's nothing wrong with going to an in-state college. In this day and age of our economy, here in the United States especially, less and less employers are looking at where you went to school. Unless you're talking about a very specialized job, most people aren't going to care if you went to an Ivy League school or a Big Ten school, or if you went to your local community college. I work in the legal field now. I work at a law firm. We have a lot of various people from different backgrounds, and no one cares where you went to college. Like, absolutely no one. Everybody at the end of the day just cares that you get the job done and you have the skills adequate to do the job that you've been selected for. So back in the day, it probably, if you could say, oh, I went to Yale or I went to Harvard, yeah, that was going to have a lot more weight. And in certain cases where your potential boss might be a big alumni of a big school, it might help that you went to that school. But overall, more and more these days, it doesn't really make much of a difference. They just kind of are more interested in what you studied and the fact that you actually got your degree and finished it, what your qualifications are, and things like that. So don't get caught up in a big school name just because you think it's prestigious, because it's probably going to cost you a lot more money in the long run. And just to give an example, and again, this is back in 2000. This is when I was going to college. I applied for probably 10 different schools. I ended up going to West Virginia University, which was my in-state school. I had a couple of scholarship offers from Ohio State, but it wasn't going to cover everything, and it still would have cost me a lot of money to go there. Now, my dad is an alumni from Michigan, and I grew up kind of being a Michigan fan with football and basketball and things, but I really wanted to go to Michigan. But when I looked at it, the out-of-state tuition was $36,000, and this was in 2000. I can only imagine what it is now. So if I had gone to Michigan, which I got accepted to because my dad was alumni, my GPA wasn't quite in the realm of where I needed to go, but my dad being an alumni and the essay I wrote kind of helped me get in. Plus, I had really good test scores, so that's what helped me. But if I had gone there, I would have just graduated with a mountain of student loan debt, and it would have been upwards of $100,000. Would not have been a good idea. So at the end of the day, I sat down and I said, what makes the most sense economically, but still going to allow me, in my case, I really wanted to go somewhere that was a little bit further away than a weekend drive from my mom and dad, because I wanted to feel like I was actually isolated and that I was independent. So that's why I wound up choosing to go to WVU, and it made sense to at the time because the in-state tuition, as I said before, was only about $3,000 a semester, so it was a lot cheaper and made more economical sense. Conversely, I have a lot of friends who went the prestige route. I have a friend of mine who lives in Chicago, and her whole entire family has gone to Northwestern, which is a very good school. It's a Big Ten school, a very expensive school. And she came out of high school. She was very smart. She wanted to go into marketing. She had really good grades, really good test scores. She had full ride scholarship offers from several smaller schools that she could have easily taken. She could have gone through college, she could have graduated, got her degree, and done it completely debt-free. But her family pressured her, and she went for it, and they said, your grandparents went to Northwestern, we went to Northwestern, you're going to go to Northwestern. Well, she made the bad decision and went to Northwestern, where she had gotten like a partial academic scholarship, which didn't really pay much. And when she graduated, I think she had close to $150,000 in student loan debt when she graduated. And I remember her a couple days after she had, she was all excited. She was starting to interview for jobs, and she looked at her loan statement and was like, my God, I've got a house payment pretty much, and I don't have a house. I don't have anything. I haven't even started my career, and I'm $150,000 in the hole. I mean, it is very sobering when you see that the amount of money you suddenly are going to have to repay. And in a lot of these cases, when you're seeing a lot of these things coming up now about student loan forgiveness and people wanting out of these student loans, it's so much money, and the interest rates are often so bad. Most people are just never going to pay it off. You're seeing a lot of stories now where people even into their 40s and 50s are going to have this student loan debt, and it's crazy and it sucks. And like I said earlier, yeah, the bank is gouging a little bit here and there, but at the end of the day, like I always said, it is your own personal choice which leads to this. It's not the bank's fault you decided to sign the paperwork. Not looking at what the consequences would be. And I didn't say that to her because she was kind of complaining about it, and I didn't want to be a jerk. But at the end of the day, I wanted to be like, well, you chose to go to that school, you chose to incur almost this huge amount of debt to go to that school, and now you don't even have a job yet, and you're looking at it's stunning to see how much money you are going to wind up paying off over this period of time, which could be going elsewhere. I mean, $150,000 when you get right out of college, that'd be a nice little starter house for somebody, for a young professional. But it's just, in this case, it's going to be very, very hard for people to ever pay that off, and it's going to be an anchor around your leg, just chaining you down for most of your professional life. So if you're getting ready to go to college, guys, I just strongly, strongly suggest, and again, I'm not a financial advisor, this is just kind of free, take it as you will advice, strongly, strongly suggest doing your research. If you can go to an in-state school and save a ton of money, if you can go to a technical college and get a job skill that's going to make you a lot of money, just explore all of your options. Going into insurmountable amounts of debt should be the last thing you do, especially coming right out of high school. just make sure if you do decide to get a student loan, read all the paperwork. What's the interest rate going to be? What's the repayment terms going to be? Pay attention to everything. You have to have personal accountability for it, and you have to know what you're getting into. But anyways, guys, that's sort of my story. And like I said, I'm really super excited. I got the student loan finally paid off, and it's gone, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. And it's just a really refreshing feeling to not have to worry about that. And when I look at my, my budget spreadsheet every month that I've made, and I look at my debts that I have, I don't have to see that anymore on there. So it's been a lot of fun. It hasn't been a lot of fun paying it, but it's been a lot of fun actually getting to have the satisfaction of knowing that I'm done with it and it's gone. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Like I said, if you're thinking about going off to college, just explore every single option and try to go with the one that's going to give you the most bang for your buck. That's going to allow you to have the best earning potential when you get out without having to spend a ton of money going through it. That's going to help you out a lot in the long term. But anyways, guys, if you have your own stories about student fee or debt in general, just feel free to share it down below. I know this kind of isn't the normal video for me, but I'm probably going to be doing a couple of these like kind of life ramble videos here in the next couple of weeks. There's been a lot of stuff on my mind lately, and it's just kind of fun. I like to share my experience. It kind of helps me get it off my chest and talk to you guys about it. So like I said, if you guys have any experience with this, feel free to share it down below. As always, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. Hope everyone's having a great day. Thanks as always for watching, and I'll see you again next time.